Chanel No. 5 is arguably the most popular perfume in the world, but why? Chanel has been around since 1921, and it still remains popular even today, which is unusual for most perfumes. By all means, this should be an old lady perfume, which is a term I don't really like, but it is a term that people often use to describe older perfumes. This is more than 100 years old, but the thing about Chanel No. 5 is that they keep advertising it. There's ads all over the place for every year ever since 1921, which makes sense because the brand is obviously trying to continue this best-selling perfume. Its notes are probably what make it extremely unique compared to other perfumes. It is notable for its time since it is one of the first, if not the first, perfume to ever use aldehydes. A lot of people know that aldehydes are in perfumes, but you might not know what aldehydes are or what they do. Aldehydes are basically organic compounds, a carbon linked to an oxygen, hydrogen in another group, usually an R group, and aldehydes are derived from alcohols, but aldehydes are unique because they have specific scents. Some aldehydes are naturally occurring. Vanillin is an aldehyde that occurs in vanilla and gives vanilla beans their natural smell. And even cinnamon has its own aldehydes that make it smell unique. Most synthetic aldehydes smell floral, like almonds, or even spicy. But the main use of aldehydes in perfume is to preserve the scents that are already in the perfume. And Chanel No. 5 was the first perfume to really do this. It was created by a master perfumer called Ernest Beaux, who Chanel discovered after she was introduced to him by her lover at the time, who was a Grand Duke of Russia and also the same person to kill the legendary Rasputin, which is an interesting correlation. But the top notes of this perfume, unsurprisingly, consist of aldehydes, mainly floral aldehydes, but they're also a little bit almost bubbly, a bit not quite alcoholic, but bubbly and a little bit sharp. The other notes are pretty floral, a little bit sweet, Ylang-Ylang, and some citrus, lemons, bergamot, and Neroli. And this is my little sample here. This is actually an Eau de Parfum, which is a more modern version of this perfume, which came out in the 80s, the early 80s, while the Eau de Toilette actually came out in the 20s. So this is a more modern formulation. It's also stronger, although some argue that the original Chanel No. 5 produced in the 20s was, and probably certainly was actually, much stronger than the current Eau de Toilette, which is available to us mainly because the original formulation used, I think, more than 150 ingredients, real ingredients, not synthetic ingredients. While today there's only maybe 80 ingredients and a lot of them are synthetic, so, and I think the formula has been watered down recently, unfortunately. But either way, I have the Eau de Parfum, which is stronger in general, and a bit more modern, but it still is very similar to the 1921 formulation. Let's see. You can see that I have already used some of this sample. But where is it? All right, here. So already, obviously the top notes, the first thing you get is the citrus, the Ylang-Ylang and Neroli, but the middle notes are unique. something interesting is the orris root. Some perfumes have orris root, but what does orris root really smell like? I doubt people, or the average person, has gone out, dug up a root and smelled it, so it's hard to say, to compare and contrast an orris root to see if it really smells like the real thing. The other middle notes: rose, jasmine, iris, and lily of the valley. I wouldn't say the floral notes are too strong, except for the rose. The rose is the most prominent. And the base notes are sandalwood, amber, musk, moss, vetiver, vanilla, patchouli, and civet. Civet is a small animal that it is renowned for its musky scent produced from its glands. The thing about civet is that it is, of course, cruel to the animals to collect their musk. So Chanel today uses synthetic musk that is designed to smell very similar to civet. The base notes, I would say, the vanilla is very prominent, especially as the perfume dries out on the skin. The vanilla becomes much more prominent. And it is a warm vanilla. It's an old-fashioned vanilla, not a sweet vanilla. The musk is also present along with the amber. I wouldn't say the civet is too strong. I wouldn't say that this is a very musky perfume or a heavy perfume. It's more, it's quite light actually, considering that you would expect it to be heavy. It's a luxurious perfume. I mean, obviously from Chanel, it's unsurprising to be lavish, but despite that, it has an air of lightheartedness and warmth, lots of warmth, like a summer day sort of thing, which is probably why this perfume is especially popular during the summer. Although I think this is a versatile perfume. You could use this any time of the year. You could use it in winter, you could use it in the summer. I wouldn't say that the summer heat would ruin the perfume. Some perfumes are just unbearable to deal with in the summer, but this is not one of those perfumes. The design of the bottle, which I don't have, I only have this, but the classic design was quite unique for the time when it came out in 1921, mainly because during that time most perfumes were contained in very elaborate bottles, crystal bottles, baccarat crystal, very lavish bottles, and Chanel was not really interested in producing another bottle that looked like everything else. So what she did, she created the classic square bottle, which was so simplistic and minimalistic for the time, and so different from other perfumes at the time, that it was actually a huge success. Interestingly, today the bottle is a square, but it has rounded edges. Originally, the edges were much sharper, but they found that the bottles would break during transport, so they rounded out the edges so that wouldn't happen. The design of the bottle ever since then has been more or less the same, except for the top of the bottle, the little stopper there, which has changed over the years. Some decades saw that little top part become more bulbous, sometimes it's more flat. So right now, the design seems to be pretty similar to what it originally was. And the most interesting thing to me that I find about this perfume is its backstory, its creation. Because in 1921, there were two types of perfumes for two very distinct groups of people. The respectable ladies of that time would usually only wear light and floral perfumes, while the flappers and the prostitutes would wear musky, rich scents. And flappers during that time were very, very numerous, a popular group of people. And Chanel wanted to try and cater to them, try and create a perfume that was not one or the other group of perfumes. So she worked with the master perfumer, Ernest Beaux, to create this kind of mix of floral and musky to create a perfume that has never been created before, which is also where the aldehydes come in, since they were first used in Chanel No. 5. And lo and behold, she did come up with this perfume that she wanted. It's called No. 5 because Ernest Beaux had a number of samples for her to smell. I can't remember how many samples, I think from 1 to 5 and then maybe 19 to 24 or something like that. And so she went through all of the samples, but she liked the 5th one the most, and coincidentally No. 5 happened to be her lucky number, so of course she went with the 5th one, and she stuck with the name No. 5. It also didn't require much artistic effort on her part. But ever since then, this has been a revolutionary perfume. Some people, I suppose, would say that this is an old lady perfume, which it is. It's 100 years old, but it has been continuously revamped, revitalized. So I wouldn't necessarily call it an old lady perfume. I would call it a classic, a timeless perfume. I personally really like the smell. It's not necessarily one of my favorites of all time. My grandmother used to wear it, not very often, but I spray it and I think, that's where I remember this scent from. But it's hard to go. I suppose some people dislike it. Some people dislike everything. But there are also huge groups of people that love this perfume. And that's the way things mostly go. You either like it or you hate it. But one thing you can't deny is that this perfume has excellent craftsmanship. Maybe not as excellent as 100 years ago, but they obviously still put a lot of effort and artistry into the creation of this perfume, which I can admire. Anything that has effort put into it can be admired. And like I said, this is a pretty versatile perfume, so you might spray it the first time, you might not like it, you might spray it again, and you might like it quite a lot. It's kind of the magic of these older perfumes. They kind of evolve the more you use them, especially with older bottles, older formulations. They change over the years, they smell differently. But I think it's a perfume that everyone should try at least once. It is a classic, everyone knows about it. So definitely give it a shot. There's a link down in the description for Chanel No. 5. But besides that, well, I imagine I'll go through this sample very, very soon. It's not very much, and I have been wearing it quite a lot recently. Anyway, that seems about it. So, the like button is down there. Subscribe. That's all.